Darn it, darn it. Why is the fire button not working? What? You're kidding me. Oh no, this game's just unfair.
Darn, if I only didn't have to buy a new controller. Maybe fixing it could work.
Hello. Today I'm going to show you a little guide on how to fix SEGA Genesis controllers. SEGA Genesis is one of my favorite consoles, and it is old. So, obviously, after a lot of hours of use, sometimes it will start to have some faulty controllers. Most of the time, these are pretty durable controllers and they can last a while, but in particular, I'm going to focus on how to fix like buttons that are really not responsive or not as responsive as you wish. It's really a very easy fix. To start with, what you need is a faulty SEGA Genesis controller, of course, some Q-tips, a bottle of 70% or above isopropyl rubbing alcohol, and a smaller sized Phillips head screwdriver. Let's get started. First thing you want to do is flip it over, and there are 6 Phillips head screw ports right there. You just want to start to unscrew it, and if you see it doing something like that, making that kind of noise, that means it is starting to strip. You don't want that. It just means that it will be damaging the screw. So you need to push harder down on it so that way it stays further and firmer inside the screw itself. So that way it won't break. Once you have all of the screws removed, I recommend putting them in a little pile here, making sure that they don't roll away. Next, we take apart the shell. So, we can start to identify what the problem area is. There are different variants of the original Genesis controller. So currently I have this one right here, the one that I'm showing you. It just has a different board that is being used. And this is the one that has the, if I could show you this without taking out this. This one has the D-pad that's a little bit more wobbly, like that, as opposed to one that's like almost in line with the plastic. So what you need to do is you need to be careful, very careful with this. Make sure that these wires don't become unplugged. You are going to go and set this to a side in a safe place so that it won't fall or get lost or anything like that. And this is the back portion. If it needs cleaning in like the little wells for the screws, then you can put that the side and clean it later. This is what is important in terms of fixing it. Most of the time, and this is the case with this controller, as you see right here, the little black pads right there, right underneath the buttons, they get a little bit of dirt or substance on them, and it makes it so that they are harder to contact with the board itself, which also has those same contact points, as you see right here, here, and so on. So, what you're gonna do is you don't want to accidentally misplace these. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna be careful You're gonna have to remove them and place them in the order that you found them. So I'd be placing them like so. And this is an interesting D-pad, because while this does come out, you actually have to unscrew it in order to take it out. If it looks relatively clean, then I'd recommend that you don't have to do this, because it's not actually interfering with these contact points. But if yours is looking as dirty as mine is, I do strongly recommend doing this and giving it a quick clean. As you see, here and around here especially, then after hours of use, these do get pretty grimy and do need to get cleaned after a little bit. Like, look at this. This is disgusting. This is where your good friend isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips come in. People also call these cotton swabs. I call them Q-tips. So what you do is, as I said, these contact points get some sort of dirt or grime on them. So what you're going to do, unscrew the cap, just dip one end in the isopropyl rubbing alcohol, and clean it. So you're going to want to give this a nice deep clean thoroughly. You're going to want to scrape off, remove any of that dirt or grime that is on it, so that way it's not interfering with the contact point. Just want to get it nice and good. And you want to do that on all of the buttons. I really want to emphasize that you want a nice matte kind of finish that doesn't shine on the black tabs there, as opposed to like a shiny, more reflective kind of surface. Like, you see that? It's very shiny. You don't want that shine. You don't want any of that, because more flat and less reflective it is, the better it'll contact.
Mission complete.
Look at how disgusting this is. Look at how dark black it is. And this is the worst side. Like, this is really bad. This just shows all of the junk that you're getting off of these little contact points. And next I'm going to clean down in there all that gunk. I'm going to clean this. Next, in order just to reassure that it is going to have the best contact with the board as possible, you actually want to gently scrub down the board itself. You see these dark contact points, so they don't have much shine on them, but it's still very important for you to wipe them down, but don't be as rough as you were with the rubber parts. Finally, it's time to button back up your controller. So first, you take the front shell, you put it down, and if you had properly laid out your buttons as it was supposed to, that way you wouldn't have to struggle with putting it back in an improper place, then opening it up and putting it back in the proper place. It's just easier to just grab and go, because you know that you had laid it out properly, and as you took it out of the controller, you put it in the right order. So that's what I'm doing here. Next, yet again, this isn't for all Genesis controllers, but I'm gonna put this back on up here. I'm gonna screw it on tight so that way it doesn't start spinning while you're playing the game, because if you have a spinning D-pad, I'm sure that would not be a pleasant experience. Once that is back on, I must emphasize you have to be carefully putting the board back in. almost forgot about this. And you put this back on too. That would have been bad. Means we wouldn't have been able to use the D-pad. There we go. And you must align the wire up with this little box that's right here. Line it up that way. So that way you are all good. Now, you put the final step on, you put the back on, and screw it back up together. While I'm screwing this in, I must emphasize that you cannot put this together if there are wires coming across this screw port right here. If you pinch the wires, you could break the controller, but you must be careful around that. Should be easy just to go around that, but if you mess that up, if it doesn't feel like it's closing as easily and just snapping back together as normal, then I would not press any harder. You should just let the controller do what it wants to do. And there you have it. This is how you repair a faulty and not properly inputting SEGA Genesis controller. If this doesn't seem to solve your problem, you can always just drop a little bit of that isopropyl alcohol in these holes by using the end of a Q-tip and just dabbing it on.
Congrats, you have a working Genesis controller.
I guess the B button being fixed doesn't solve me being bad at video games.